Hey folks, this is man once again. I apologize, I'm still under the weather. But getting to Beverly Hills Cop 3. Now, I already said I really enjoyed the first two films. I know there's a few people out there like Darren Marquardt who enjoy this film, and if you enjoy the film, that's fine. But I don't, and I'll explain why. Is this the worst Eddie Murphy film? I mean, I would say Norbit is worse. I would say The Haunted Mansion is worse. I would say Meet Dave is worse. This is definitely one of the most disappointing because the two are so great movies, and then you come out with this, and it's as lazy as the cover. Like, think about it. You get the other. This is just the simple things from the. Look at the covers. First film, second film. Now look how lazy this is. Just him standing there with a gun, like he's James Bond. And even like the marketing, it's on. What's on? A hard on? I mean, even the marketing sucked. The fucking cover, the posters were lame. Or it was him in front of a fucking roller coaster. Like, what do you fucking do? Now, it's directed by John Landis, who I think was the wrong choice. I know he worked with Eddie Murphy before, Trading Places and Coming to America, but he was the wrong guy to direct this. You don't have Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer producing, because they had disagreements and shit. And written by Steven D'Souza. Unfortunately, same time he wrote this, he wrote and directed fucking Street Fighter with Jean-Claude Van Damme. So he was on the downslope, and I think Judge Dredd was around the corner with Stallone. What is it? So Don Simpson and Jared Bruckheimer don't come back to produce. And then I think Joel Silver was going to produce it, but then he had fights with the studio. And ultimately, you had Mace Neufeld and Robert Rame producing. So you have new producers. You have a director who, I'm sorry, John Landis. Again, he wasn't the right director for this. I don't care if he did Blues Brothers. Doesn't mean he could do this. Even the music. Nile Rodgers. You don't even have fucking Harold Faltermeyer come back to do the music. So yeah, don't even have a lot of John Ashton and Ronnie Cox. They're not in the film. Like John Ashton isn't in it. You just got a shitty replacement, Hector Elizondo. And I don't mind Hector Elizondo as an actor. He was in that film, Leviathan, which I love to death. Hector Elizondo, I'll get to that. He was put in for John Ashton, but at the same time, it was pointless and useless because his character is pointless and useless and out of place, which I'll get to. But before I get into that, there's a lot of ideas floating around for Beverly Hills Cop 3. I know way back when Brandon Tartikoff, when he was a guy who was running the studio and such. It was probably like the late 80s. Said, hey, what about Axel Foley and Crocodile Dundee? Because those were like the two big Paramount films. And of course, everyone said no to that. Although, to be honest, I'd rather see that movie than this fucking movie. And once again, they went back to the idea of, well, let's have them go to London. And it was like either Judge Reinhold John Ashton is taking a prisoner to Paris or London and the prisoner escapes. Or then there was no one where it was going to be Paul Reiser's character, and then Paul Reiser's character gets killed. And so Eddie Murphy has to go over. And they said, no, that's too much like Black Rain with Michael Douglas, which is a much better movie than this. Or an international police convention, and Ronnie Cox's character gets kidnapped, and it's like, this is what you want to do in part 2. You want to dig it up again. And I'm like, why the fuck does that remind me of Police Academy Mission to Moscow? I mean, that movie sucked. There was something about like British gangsters or some type of shit, and I'm like, What is this shit? What is going on? Why all these stupid ideas? You know what the idea should have been for Beverly Hills Cop 3? To me, it's simple. Because really, this is the same plot as the first two films. Someone he knows gets either hurt, like Ronnie Cox did in part 2, or gets killed, like his buddy did in the first film, and in here it's Inspector Todd. Someone he knows gets hurt or killed, like in the first and third film. He goes to Beverly Hills to find the killer. It's pretty much the plot. I mean, in the first film it was drugs, in the second film it was dealing with guns, and the third film is dealing with counterfeiting. Here's my idea. Flip it. Get Judge Reinhold, get John Ashton in there, have them come to Detroit, where Axel Foley's at. For some reason or another, they're there to, hey, they're on vacation, they want to meet up with Axel Foley, or Axel Foley invites them to Detroit, his home turf. You still have Beverly Hills Cop, because technically Eddie Murphy is not a Beverly Hills Cop. Technically, if you want to be technical, just I know I mentioned that one time. Someone said no, it wouldn't work. It would not be Beverly Hills Cop. I'm like, yes, it would. First, you'd have the Axel Foley character played by Eddie Murphy. You'd have the other characters in there. And second off, if you want to be technical about it, really this should be Detroit Cop, like RoboCop. Detroit Cop, because Eddie Murphy is a Detroit cop. He's not a cop. He's not a Beverly Hills Cop. He's a cop in Beverly Hills, or you don't title that a cop in Beverly Hills. So you have two Beverly Hills cops going to Axel Foley's turf, and them helping Eddie Murphy out. And he's doing a case, and you can still have that in there, but I think it would make it different. Like, okay, how are these guys interacting in the Detroit climate, in the Detroit setting and background? And Judge Reinhold, John Ashton dealing with Inspector Todd, like those two dealing with Inspector Todd, and you know, if you get Paul Reiser's character back, and what these, you know, two cops who are only in Beverly Hills, how do they deal with being in Detroit? And we see Axel Foley throughout the whole film on his home turf. You know, maybe he knows people or informants or such, and you know, Judge Reinhold and John Ashton are visiting on vacation to see Eddie Murphy, and something happens, and they decide to help him out, and because Eddie Murphy's helped them out before. To me, that would have been a much better plot for Beverly Hills Cop 3 than someone of his gets killed again, like in the first film, and he goes to a fucking amusement park called Wonder World, and the fucking movie ends with an Axel Fox pussification of Axel Foley. Him wearing a goddamn elephant suit. He's wearing a goddamn elephant suit. Axel Foley. The guy who said, get the fuck out of here. And again, he's wearing a goddamn elephant suit. Shit. And before I get into the film, this is going to be a long one, so fuck it. Don't have John Ashton back. You don't have Ronnie Cox back. There's no Paul Reiser. There's no Dom Simpson and Jared Bruckheimer who produced the other two films. There's no Harold Faltermeyer doing the score. You have new cooks in the kitchen. You have all these scripts. They could not finalize the script. And then Eddie Murphy is a big reason too, because he wanted to be more serious. This is his words, folks. In an interview in 1994, he said that the third film is different from the trilogy's first installment, because he didn't talk about the second film, but nowadays, if you ask him, he'll say, yeah, the second film's good, the third film sucks. He said in the third film, Axel is more mature and no longer the wisecracking rookie cop. You're a fucking idiot, Eddie Murphy. First off, he's supposed to be wisecracking. That's the fucking point of Axel Foley. Also, when the fuck was he a rookie cop? He was not a rookie cop in the first film. He was not a rookie cop in the second film. He's never been a fucking in the movies. He was never a rookie. So why the fuck are you saying wisecracking rookie cop, Eddie Murphy? You don't even know what the fuck Axel Foley is, and you played the guy, well, here 3 times. No, I'm gonna say twice. This isn't Axel Foley. This is a generic guy. He's not wisecracking. He's not funny. He doesn't use his mouth to get in and out of situations. He doesn't. Or his wits. Because he was pissed off because Wesley Snipes is doing shit like Passenger 57. And he's like, man, I want to do those kind of films. He was in an interview in 2005 on John Landis. That really sums it up. It was a strange experience. The script was not any good, but I figured, so what? I will make it funny with Eddie. One of the worst scripts I have ever read was the original Beverly Hills Cop. It was a piece of shit, but the movie was funny because Eddie Murphy and Martin Brest made it funny. Everything funny in that movie is not in the screenplay, so I thought, well, we'll do it that way. But then I discovered on the first day when I started giving Eddie some shtick, he said, you know, John, Axel Foley's an adult now. He is not a wise ass anymore. Part of the fucking problem. I believe he was very jealous of Denzel Washington and Wesley Snipes doing these straight roles. So with Beverly Hills Cop 3, I had this strange experience where he was very professional, but he just was not funny. I agree. I would try to put him in funny situations, and he would find a way to step around them. And then Bronson Pinchot in 2009. Eddie Murphy was really depressed at the time Beverly Hills Cop 3 was being filmed. Eddie was going through his period at the time of doing movies that were not hits. Which, at this time, I know films like The Distinguished Gentleman came out and wasn't a hit. That was a Paramount film. Because this film had a bigger budget. Paramount didn't want to do that much budget. I think that was part of the reason why Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer said fuck it and left. And this came out in 1994. And Eddie was going through his period. Yeah, he was very low-spirited, low energy. I said to him, all anyone ever wants to know when they meet me is what you're like. And Eddie Murphy told me, I bet they don't ask that anymore. And then when we did a scene we were shooting, and he was so low energy that John Landis sent him upstairs and said, just rest, Eddie, and I'll do the scene with Bronson. So there are certain scenes where when you see just my face in the movie, I'm not really talking to Eddie, I'm talking to John Landis. He was having a bad stretch. I don't know what started the funk, but it lasted a chunk of time, and that was in the belly of the funk. And he was just really sad, low energy, and I basically did the scene without him there. I'll answer that question for you, Bronson Pinchot. Harlem Nights. That's what started it, Harlem Nights. When did Harlem Nights come out? Wasn't that 89? Yeah, about 89. Because Eddie Murphy, if you wonder what I'm doing, I'm looking at his filmography. It says it. I have to click on a button. Yeah, filmography. He did Harlem Nights, which that film sucked. He wrote, directed it, executive produced it, starred in it, had Richard Pryor, one of his idols, in it. Also, Red Fox. That film stank. It was stank ass. It wasn't funny. It was very disappointing. And it sucked. And the film bombed. I think he got depressed about that. Then he did another 48 Hours, which I liked. And I thought it was a hit. Maybe it wasn't as big of a hit as they wanted it to be, but I thought it was a big enough hit. Then you have Boomerang. And I don't know how Boomerang did. Boomerang was one of those films I haven't seen in a long time. Again, I don't know how Boomerang did. I'm looking it up right now. It did decently. It made $70 million in the U.S. and it cost. It got mixed reviews, but I think it cost like $40 million. and it made 70 million, so it didn't do that bad. So another 40 hours, and those films didn't do that bad. So I don't know what the deal is with that. But I guess Harlem Nights didn't do well. Maybe they were ragging on because another 40 hours should have been a much bigger hit, even though it was a hit. The Distinguished Gentleman wasn't a hit. And I'll be honest, I like that film more than this one. Then after that, he did Vampire Brooklyn. That film was a piece of shit. So I think, Harlem Nights really got him depressed, and I bet he didn't want to do another 40 hours, and he did it. And he probably wasn't happy with it. And Distinguished Gentleman didn't do well. Boomerang, I thought, did good. But yeah, Eddie Murphy, and you could tell. You could absolutely tell in this film. That's what Eddie Murphy is. Eddie Murphy is boring. He has no energy or low energy. He didn't want to be a wisecracker. He doesn't want to be a wise ass. He doesn't want to be the character that talks himself in and out of situations. That's part of the reason why it sucks. It was lazy, uninspired performance and a lazy, uninspired movie. Even the little details. Even the cover is lazy. The marketing, it's on. What the fuck is on? The movie ain't on because I shut it off. Even the opening. What do you have in the opening of the first film? The heat is on. The heat is on. Do, 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 do. Opening of the second film. Shake down, break down, you busted. And each of those two films have an exciting opening montage that gets your blood pumping. Here, nothing. You see a fucking train go by, and you fucking see these fat chop shop guys singing and dancing to like "Come See About Me" from fucking Diana Ross and the Supremes. This is how our Beverly Hills Cop movie starts? Two fat guys in a chop shop dancing and singing to Diana Ross and the Supremes? That's how the fuck it starts? After these two great movies? You don't start your fucking third movie like this? Are you serious? And the soundtrack completely sucks. There's not a good song, not a single good song throughout the entire film. The first two movies have good soundtracks. This has a shitty soundtrack, and it has a shitty score. It has a shitty version of the Axel F theme by Nile Rodgers. It gets too goofy and too like kitty cartoony. The only way I know this is R-rated is because you could almost say this is the most violent of the Beverly Hills Cop films because a lot of people get shot. Even like in all the Beverly Hills Cop films, this is the one he's the bloodiest at the end because like his head's bleeding, he's got like a busted bloody lip. And it really goes to show you Eddie Murphy wanted to be more of an action hero with this movie. I don't want him wisecracking. Then that's not Axel Foley. Hell, he did more wisecracking in Metro. I know someone disagreed and they don't like Metro because they thought it was too much like 48 hours. I don't care how much it's too light. It's still an entertaining movie. I really disagree with that because Metro is not really a buddy movie. You have a little bit of Michael Rappaport in there, but it's not really a buddy movie at all. It's Eddie Murphy using his wit, using his mouth, like how he does best in an R-rated fashion, and it's funnier. It's a hell lot fucking funnier. That did the balance right. You want to have serious Eddie Murphy, but you get some funny Eddie Murphy. Metro did that a lot better than Beverly Hills Cop 3, and it's such because this movie has fucking special features. Metro doesn't, because it released the shit in January, which was a stupid idea. I wish that was a hit, but this, I'd rather that have features than this. And they don't talk about all that shit on the features. You have to look that shit up. Interviews in magazines and stuff. They don't talk about much on the interviews. So no exciting opening, shitty songs, shitty music, and stupid, goofy shit that should not be in an Eddie Murphy. That I mean, not well, it's in Eddie Murphy films today, but it should not be two fat chop shop guys singing and dancing to a Diana Ross song. Then they get shot up, and the bad guy is lame. I can't remember the guy's name. I don't give a fuck. I'm not looking it up. Lame, boring, and when you're out the other villain. The dialogue between Eddie Murphy and anyone is insanely boring and insanely unfunny. When he talked to Inspector Todd, because Eddie Murphy is doing this again stuff for the he's going to go into his chop shop before these other bad guys come in, shoot everyone, but the cops, Axel Foley and the cops apparently don't hear the fucking gunfire. He speaks to Inspector Todd, who comes back from the first two films. Gil Hill. What do you have in the first film? Don't fuck with me, Axel. Don't, hey boss, you still got some ass left out of you. In the second film, stop, it makes my dick itch. No, I'm going deep undercover. I did that. I talked about that in the first two reviews. Check those out. Or check the movies out. Here, it's just, hey, you want to get SWAT? Hey, just trust me. Okay, Axel. That's it. That's it. There's no memorable dialogue in this movie. I repeat multiple bits of funny dialogue for the first two films. Here, there is none. Just Eddie Murphy wanted to be more serious and not the wisecracking Axel Foley. Because he thought that was a good idea. And Inspector Todd, he gets shot up. He says, get that son of a bitch. He dies. You get a car chase. That's kind of like RoboCop 3 car chase, where Axel Foley's chasing the bad guys and the car gets shot up, and throughout the chase, like bits of the car falls apart. Decent little scene. I guess I could say that it worked better here than RoboCop 3, but okay. I don't mind the scene if it was in a better movie or a better Beverly Hills Cop movie. A little bit, a little bit too slapstick, but I don't know. I could deal with that stuff, that scene. But then this guy comes up, says he's with the FBI or some shit, and I'm like, he's a dirty. He just comes out of nowhere with his other guy. He just comes out of nowhere, and I'm like, okay, let me guess. This guy is a dirty FBI guy. He's a dirty whatever the fuck he is guy. And yep, I'm right. You be right too. The bad guys were so stupid that they have fucking towels in their suitcase of Wonderworld, and I'm like, that's where your operation is at, and you gave it away because you hid in your briefcase with your guns a towel that clearly says Wonderworld. Hey, get a shirt and just put it over there. A random shirt, a random towel. No. You have a funeral scene, which is funny, and then he goes to Beverly Hills. There's Wonderworld's in Beverly Hills. Yeah, that stupid fucking scene that you see in the trailer. Press button. Press this. Press this if there are people on your lawn. Press this for French. Press this, and it's not even funny. And I'm like, what the fuck is this joke doing here? Useless. A very shitty version of the Axel F theme from this composer. Then you get Judge Reinhold, who he has a thankless role. He has nothing to do. He has a very stupid job title, the DDJIOCPU fuck bullshit, whatever the hell it is. DDG, Jesus Christ, Superstar, whatever the fuck it is. Because it's a joke that they beat down for like 5 minutes. Oh, his job title is so confusing to say. Ha 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 ha. And about green lines and shit that he controls. And that Taggart, John Ashton's character, retired. And Hector Elizondo is there. And he's out of place. It's like, we needed another older, slightly balding guy. I'm like, his character literally does nothing. It's just, hey, I know a guy at Wonderworld. Then when he comes at the end, he shoots maybe one guy. You get shot in the arm. And that's it. That's his entire role. That's it. That's all his role is. Nothing else to his role. Literally nothing else to his role. Could have been completely out of the movie. So Eddie Murphy goes to Wonderworld, which this whole Die Hard and amusement park, maybe it could work for another movie, but not for a Beverly Hills Cop movie. And not Wonderworld where you see all these, cutesy shit. I mean, hell, there's a fucking scene where Eddie Murphy is, or someone else that's chasing him is running out, hits this toy train that sings, and when they hit the toy train screams, ah! The fucking toy train screams in pain because it got stepped on. And this whole thing about, in the previous films, he would use his mouth to get in and out of it, talk bullshit. No. Here it's, okay, I want to see the guy who works in Wonderworld. Sorry, you don't have to buy a ticket. Okay, how much? Was it like $35? I'm not buying a ticket. These two securities come up to him. And, okay, is he going to bullshit his way out of it? What's he going to do? He's with this, he's with that, he's with a company, he's with another park, he's with he knows the boss. He buys a ticket. That's it, he just buys a ticket and goes out. I'm like, I thought Axel Foley used his mouth. He's the type of guy that would bullshit his way with a paper bag of vitamins and pretend that it's explosives. And like, 10. And gives him 20. He's like, someone I know who did this had $20 in a pair of Adidas. That's the kind of thing Axel Foley is. No, he just buys a ticket and goes in. Doesn't bullshit his way through. You're like, what the fuck? What? And he gets in security really easy. Gets in with this girl who shows him how this ride alien attack works. And this ride alien attack has fucking Cylons in it. And Teresa Randall, she's there as a forced love interest. And it feels forced. It feels phony. This shit there. Again, it was like him wanting to be Passenger 57, Wesley Snipes and shit. He wanted to be, I don't know what Denzel was doing at this time, 94. Crimson Tide? Eddie Murphy was jealous of that, apparently, and then just make another film that's not fucking Beverly Hills Cop. Or do it better, like you did in Metro. And he gets out. And I don't usually complain about this in movies because it happens a lot. A lot of times I buy it. But these bad guys are the worst shots ever. They are the worst fucking shots ever. Just literally, Eddie Murphy's walking. A guy turns behind him. Point blank range. If Eddie Murphy's here, the guy's here. Behind him. The guy shoots. Instead of hitting Eddie Murphy, it's like a pipe over here. There's another scene later on at the alien attack thing. Eddie Murphy's here. A bad guy's here. You have like the rails. It's like kind of like the subway rails. Just it's part of the ride. The bad guy shoots, and somehow when he shoots Eddie Murphy, it hits the rails at the bottom. Or Eddie Murphy's here talking on the phone. A bad guy's right here, about this, I swear, about from here to my hallway. Guy aims and shoots and somehow misses Eddie Murphy and hits the fucking telephone right near him. Like, oh, by the way, and these bad guys are so stupid that apparently they don't kill Eddie Murphy while there's about 1,000 people that could see witnesses, and Eddie Murphy isn't doing anything, but apparently all these guys are going to shoot him in cold blood, and apparently that's cool. That's alright. As if no one is going to ask questions. Hey, these guys killed an unarmed man who wasn't waving his gun. Or they killed a guy in cold blood. The guy didn't pull a gun out. They didn't say anything. And I guess these, all these hundreds of people, maybe 1,000 is too much, but hundreds of people are no witnesses. Jesus Christ. But anyway, he escapes, and when he escapes, and this is when the bad guy follows Eddie Murphy and steps on a fucking train. The train screams in pain. A toy train. This is the fucking Beverly Hills Cop franchise starts going to the shitter. Eddie Murphy, his escape is he cuts in front of George Lucas. Yes, because John Landis has to put in his cameos. Great, I get to see fucking George Lucas' face. George Ludi. Every time I see him now, I'm like, you fucked up the Star Wars original versions with your shitty special effects and your shitty prequels. And, by the way, Eddie Murphy escaping, why the fuck does he go to a ride called the Spider? Which is kind of like a carousel, but not really. The bad guys are far away from him. Why does he escape to a ride? He can't go anywhere on the ride. He could hide, let him walk by, and he run out of the park. Why does he ride to a fucking... Why does he run to a fucking ride? And then he waves to them! This is a ride that you're in a cubicle and you're going like this. And the bad guys are waiting down below. Where the fuck was Eddie Murphy thinking he was going to go to? And he waves at them. Like, he doesn't even duck down. The bad guys didn't know where he was at. He tried to duck down, they look, and they don't see him, and they go by. No, he just waves. I'm having a fucking rain in this. Stupid. Then they fuck up the stupid security guys, fuck up the controls. And you did some decent stunt work. Because you have a real guy, because the thing fucks up. These two kids are dangling, and Axel Foley has to go over. And you did some decent stunt work. But whatever. Some kind of pretty obvious blue screen mixed in with a real guy jumping across that shit. I'm like, I'd just rather watch fucking Remo Williams going around the Statue of Liberty. I'll watch that instead of this shit. Then the security man gets him, and then Hector Elizondo and Judge Reinhold get there, and Murphy goes, that's the guy. Hector Elizondo, well, what are you talking about? That guy is the head of security. He's the guy that Hector Elizondo knows. And this is not talking about the dialogue. Like, he literally, Eddie Murphy says something like, your friend is foul. I'm going down there to put some pressure on him because he's having this shindig where he's going to be given an award. And at this convention. And that's it. It's not even Eddie Murphy. His character keeps his cool. I mean, his friend died in the first film as well, and Ronnie Cox was a friend of his. He got shot up. It's just Eddie Murphy's character just losing his cool. And you can't tell me, well, because Inspector Todd was close to him. Look at the first film. The first film, his childhood friend, or at least a friend that he knew for years, got killed. But he kept his cool and his wisecracking, and it was funny. And you can't say that. That's a poor excuse, because you look at the first film. The Uncle Dave, the guy who owns the park and stuff, comes by, says he got this note, which you find out later was counterfeit paper, was paper used for their counterfeiting. Sees the bad guy at the convention. You have Bronson Pinchot in there again as Serge, which I'm sorry, his St. Gamey Chuck was the first film, but he didn't need to come back. He has a stupid fucking gun called the Annihilator 2000, where it has like a microwave and a fucking CD player and a toaster and a vibrator and a cum chuggler and a chum cuddler and a footstool and a foot stick. It has everything that you want. Sounding, so you put a fucking rod in your penis tip for pleasure, whatever the fuck it does. I don't care about the Annihilator 2000. I care about Axel Foley being fucking funny. I care about having Judge Reinhold and John Ashton both there. I care about having the team that was in the first two films, all three of these guys here. Because this team sucks. Behind the camera and in front of the camera. Sucks. Sucks, sucks, sucks. Dicks and cans of smashed assholes. And even when Eddie Murphy, in both films, when he confronts the bad guy, it's something witty or funny. No. It's pretty much going, you know, like in the second film when it's the Playboy Mansion. Oh, Max fucked it up for everyone. Here it's, oh, I'm glad this guy's getting an award. And then just punches the guy. Lame. One thing leads to another. They think there's something in this truck. Judge Reinhold goes trigger happy. Well, more like, you know, he gets all these guys in there and the truck's empty. This is where Eddie Murphy goes undercover as a fucking elephant. Axel Foley, a fucking elephant. Undercover. You're telling me that this guy, this character, and this character is now going undercover as a fucking elephant. It's fucking stupid. Fucking stupid. Lame, dumb, duck fuck of a movie. So he goes fucking undercover. And he asks more of this lame, forced love interest bullshit. Because it doesn't fucking work. Because they don't have any fucking chemistry. Scenes don't fucking work at all. Eddie Murphy goes in the air ducts, finds out it's counterfeiting. Someone catches him. He jumps down to the lights. He escapes. And I'm like, what? They don't shoot a guy who's not waving a gun in front of 100 witnesses? And he shoots the gun in the air, and they get him. That's really what this movie is. He gets in the same place, he escapes, because he does it like 3 or 4 fucking times. He gets in, he escapes, goes on the spark. He gets in, he escapes, shoots the gun in the air. And it happens again at the fucking ending. Captain Elizondo, again, Eddie Murphy talks himself in and out of situations, right? Captain Elizondo has him. He's going to drive him to the airport. This is all Eddie Murphy does. This is how witty Axel Foley is in this movie. Oh, stop. 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 Captain Elizondo's like, what? Stop. Stop. And he, he just gets out of the car, runs away. And that's it. That's fucking it. He just gets in the car. He just gets out and runs. Wow. Great quick wit and thinking on your feet. All you had to do was stop, stop. And that's it. Jesus Christ. He sees that Uncle Dave died again. Finds out that the paper is evidence because it's paper for the counterfeiting. The bad guys are there. Shoots Uncle Dave. Axel Foley takes him to a hospital. Meets up with Serge again. Gets Annihilator 2000, and he also gets this earlier in the film. He got this keychain thing from Serge. Goes to the park because now the girl is there. Then Judge Reinhold gets there. Eddie Murphy uses this light of the keychain Serge gave him that blinds them. He escapes. John Reinhold and the love interest get trapped here in this area. Eddie Murphy gets the Annihilator 2000. He hides behind a tiny wooden bench that the bad guys shoot, and yet Eddie Murphy's still alive. And this is the slapstick funny. He puts the gun up. Oh shit, a shitty net flies off. Oh shit, it's playing some rap song. Oh shit, now it's Jerry Lewis singing. Then he shoots a guy and he shoots a rocket that blows up a building and the guy dies by being near it. And then later on he uses the alien attack ride to get some other bad guys. That's what I'm saying. You have some people with some really shitty shots. Judge Reinhold gets like 2 of them, but then he gets shot. More likely got a bulletproof vest on. Hector Elizondo gets there. He shoots one guy. I'm like, damn, what the fuck is this guy doing in this movie? John Saxon, he's in the film as one of the bad guys. He finds out that Eddie Murphy somehow changed the counterfeit money to Eddie Murphy's picture that says, "Kiss my ass." I'm like, well, how the fuck did he get his picture on there in 5 minutes? With computers back in 1994. How the fuck did he do that? Whatever. It's meant for a fucking joke that's not funny. Then Axel Foley, he gets scared from a fake saber tooth. Because another attraction. He turns a fake saber tooth, makes Axel Foley go, ah, and fall down on his ass. And he shoots like 3 guys. He shoots one bad guy. He has about a minute-long fight or less with the other bad guy who killed Inspector Todd. And then, oh, that FBI guy, the one that you probably forgotten by now, because he only showed up like 1 or 2 times throughout the rest of the film. Big surprise, he is one of the bad guys. Eddie Murphy kills him too. And when he shoots the guy, the bullet goes through that guy to hit Hector Elizondo in the arm. And then they both sit down, and Judge Reinhold comes out, and he falls down. And even though he needs medical attention, Eddie Murphy and Hector Elizondo are laughing about it. And then, yeah, this scene. Oh, I threw the fucking. Yeah, the scene where they're being the celebration at Wonder World because Uncle Dave is okay, and so they create a new character for Wonder World called Axel Fox, a fucking fox with Axel Foley's coat. I take my camera and go. Jesus Christ, this review rant is 44 minutes long. Well, might as well be. Because I had a lot to say about this fucking movie. Is it the worst Eddie Murphy? Sadly, no. I hate Norbit more. Imagine that more. Fucking. I'll say it, Pluto Nash more. Meet Dave more. Norbit more. I said that. Haunted Mansion more. Vampire Brooklyn more. Holy Man sucks. More like holy shit. Life, I'm not a big fan of because I thought that was more depressing than funny. This is just incredibly disappointing, unfunny, and shitty. So if people, I know again, Darren Marquardt or other people, if you like the film, that's fine. But you want to know why I don't think this film is underrated? I think this film is a piece of shit. Eddie Murphy trying to be serious. He wants to be serious, and it does not work for the Axel Foley character. He's not a wisecrack anymore. There's no memorable lines of dialogue. There's no funny lines of dialogue. He doesn't talk himself in and out of situations like Axel Foley would do. It was the bad call. It was a bad decision, and Eddie Murphy fucked up. Maybe that's why he wants to do part 4. But Eddie Murphy hasn't made good films in like decades. um... So other than Axel Foley being completely fucked up and unfunny and more serious and losing his cool than being witty and talking to himself and bullshitting himself out in and out of situations, uh, the soundtrack sucks, the music sucks. Even the opening montage, there's no opening montage. It's not even exciting. It's two fat guys chop chop singing and dancing to a Diana Ross song. Stupid, goofy shit that's not funny by Axel Foley and an blue elephant costume, or step on a train that squeals, or having cameos. Oh, Joe Dante, he has a cameo as a cop or something, and or whatever the hell he was, and George Lucas having a cameo, and other directors having cameos. Like, I give a fuck. Judge Reinhold is completely wasted with a nothing role. You push and force in a useless love interest. The villain is beyond forgettable and lame. Lame crime, counterfeiting at Wonderworld, whatever the fuck. Uh, Memorable action scenes? I mean, the stunt on that ride, I commend the stuntman for doing that. The car getting fucked up, put that in a better movie. That was done in 2 movies, and both of them are part 3s, and both of them are shitty. World Cop 3 and Beverly Hills Cop 3. Which is worse? How about just go watch a good movie? How about that? They're both disappointing and shitty. I mean, I guess at least it was Eddie Murphy back as Axel Foley, not just a random guy, but it might as well not be Axel Foley. Because he doesn't act like Axel Foley. And, not having John Ashton, instead you have a shitty replacement, Hector Elizondo, whose character is useless and worthless. Just a very lame movie. A lame, shitty film. I don't know what more I can say about it than that. But either way, thanks for watching, take care, and fuck this movie.